Always a delay. Always a delay. What's going on, YouTube? I got a very special guest. I got Daryl with me today from the Level Money Show. He's really, really knowledgeable. He's like me. He realizes that you can take, profits from. Oh, hold on. I gotta mute this. He realizes you can make money in a lot of different asset classes and put it into another. So I appreciate you being here. Happy New Year, Daryl. How are you, man?
Man, doing good, man. Appreciate you. Happy New Year's. Got some goals for the year. I'm not really a New Year's resolution guy. I usually start my goals early before the new year, but sometimes it is kind of like the energy of just people all around the world, having these I want to do something different this year. Like sometimes that does give you a little boost.
Absolutely. Let me do a quick roll call. We got let me go to the top. We had Gold Chick in here earlier. Gold Chick, if you're watching, you're always first in my book. We got Nickel Stacking. We got Neil Hans. We got OTG. Oh, that guy. Glad OTG is still around. I haven't heard from him in a few days. I was concerned. We got Silver Cigars. We got Tuli. We got, let's see. We got MKP. We got, I'm trying to scroll down. There's a lot of people up in the chat. I appreciate y'all being here. Smash it like two bros stacking. What's up, brother? Silver Cigars, my brother from another mother. Zook, Snakebite. What's up? Well, I think I saw Thule up in here. We got the bank loving dude, user 6 or X69. I know you love the banks. I make money in the banks and take it and run. We got Chef. We got Monkey King. We got Stack and Surfer, Eduardo. Sorcerer, everybody, I appreciate you being here. Niels did say something I agree with to a degree. Liberty Bleeds, Chef, what's up? Transient. He said, for him, it's a moral thing with investing. I'm going to be honest. I am anti-jab, but I made 4,700% on the stocks. I did speak out against it, but I cannot change the world, so I may as well make some money. I do have my line morally on what I'll do, but to me, things like crypto and Bitcoin are not, sacrificing my morals, so I'm okay with that.
Yeah. Me, I would say I'm an amoral investor. Like, I think that, I've invested in tobacco, oil, depending on which narrative you want to believe there, but I'm very bullish oil. But ultimately, I think that, it's all about us, the people, being able to get ourselves in position so that we can hedge ourselves against this central banks printing money, all this stuff that the bigs are doing, that ultimately impact us, the people that are living our everyday lives, and we don't have a lot of control in a lot of these circles. And so whatever you can get money, obviously, as long as you're not hurting someone or anything like that, that's kind of where I have more libertarian values. But I just think that I didn't say immoral, I said amoral, just neutral, and so that's kind of where I stand on that.
Well, here's the thing. Here's what I like about you is you're like me. You're smart enough to realize that, metals is a great place to be, but you're not going to get rich on metal alone. So how are we going to get more in our stack? How are we going to get more physical assets? Because in my opinion, at the end of the day, if you look historically, physical assets are what went out generally over time. But how are we going to get more physical assets in the stack? And as far as morals go, here's the thing. There are certain things I won't participate in, but at the end of the day, and by the way, I'm bullish oil too. I have oil stocks. At the end of the day, I can't fix stupid, and people are going to, go down their own path. I did openly speak out against the jab, but I made a lot of money when people called me an idiot and didn't listen. So I can't fix what people are going to do. All I can do is find market patterns and try my best to follow it and make a profit.
Yeah, exactly. It's all about, ultimately, you gotta look at the values of our nation, based on freedom of choices and things of that nature. And so you have to apply that. So even when I'm investing in tobacco, it's well, I'm not they pay good dividends. They've been some of the top performing stocks, since the 70s or 80s, since Congress pretty much made it to where no new tobacco company could come in and compete with the current bigs. And so but that's someone else's choice. If they want to, use tobacco, that's on them. Like, but for me, it's like, okay, well, this is the asset that I can profit from, and I don't really have any type of, judgment towards people that do that, and so it's all about like, hey, live and let live,
See, and I agree with that. I mean, personally, I think to do certain things makes somebody unwise, but I want them to have the freedom of choice to do that. I don't want it pushed on me. I don't want it pushed on you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like for instance, I'm going shooting after the stream. If you don't want a gun, don't get one, but don't tell me I can't have one. You know what I'm saying? Same thing.
Yeah, exactly. exactly.
I mean, you do you, just don't hurt other people. Is my thing. Happy New Year, everybody. By the way, so. What you've been doing some late night streams lately, man, which have been rocking my world. And what I like about you is you're also pro metal like me. Like I think I got 47 ounces on the way in the last week that I ordered, week and a half. So I dig that about you. How'd you get into metal and crypto?
See, when I started, when the pandemic hit, when everyone was losing their jobs and and then it just looked like the world was just going down, down in flames. And for me, I used to do the Dave Ramsey thing a while ago, and I used to teach it too, and then some of the things that he taught, like I just disagree with over time. Well, I didn't disagree with it before the pandemic, but after the pandemic, I started reading other material from financial experts, investors, and stuff. And I was just like, well, yeah, it's not one way up the mountain, obviously, he gives some good principles that people can follow, basic principles that are necessarily needed. I mean, you need to know how to live on a budget. You need to know how to like manage your debt, all those different things. Right. But I started finding like there's multiple ways up the mountain. So I started, just reading, and then I ended up, I started reading Rich Dad Poor Dad. My landlord gave that book to me back in like, I was at 2016, 2015, something like that. And I never touched it. It's just been sitting on the bookshelf. And so then when the pandemic hit and I was working from home, it was like, well, let me go ahead and read this book. And that book was just life changing for me. So then I started going to, Robert Kiyosaki's YouTube channel, just started really seeing what was happening there. And that's what introduced me to like a lot of the gold investors. I mean, he buys gold himself. He's a gold stacker and a silver stacker himself. But I started learning about, Peter Schiff, George Gammon, and all of these other people. So then I started getting introduced to a lot of the financial experts in that space, and they were like, hey, own gold. And then, which we'll get to later, I started finding people that were, pro Bitcoin as well. So that was how it started.
Man, it's funny. You bring up some names. So I think Dave Ramsey is great for getting out of debt. I think his investment advice is not the best. His advice about Bitcoin and metals is horrible. It would have cost you many thousands of dollars if you would have listened to him. But he's great as far as getting out of debt. And what he says about that is right. And then Kiyosaki, I've been, my old man told me about Rich Dad, Poor Dad years ago. So I've been a huge Kiyosaki fan for years until he said silver 100 to 500. I think he's out of his mind. But everything else he says I agree with. So I've kind of come back to watching him and tried to put that out of my mind because I think that was an asinine projection. I think that leads people down the wrong path. Just like I think these people say Bitcoin 1 million or 1 million, 2 million next year, I think they're out of their mind. I think 100K is a safe bet. 80K, 100K, 110 maybe. So
a good point on that. Like I want to chime in on that. So like,
go ahead.
Even with Dave Ramsey, like Dave Ramsey will use like, I've noticed what he'll use is he'll have a guest call in. They bought silver at $40 an ounce when silver hit its all-time high. And then they're significantly down on their investment, and obviously, we could say longer term, whether that's 2-3 decades from now, silver is probably going to be most likely going to be over $45. But it's all about your time frames and you understanding what you're getting into. And why you're getting into it. So if you're getting into it for an investment at an all-time high, that's bad. That's bad timing. So, obviously, Dave Ramsey would use that as an example, like, hey, this person lost a lot of money on their investment, buying silver at $45 and now it's at 20 something bucks. Sell your silver or whatever. Like that's how he would approach that. But it's kind of like people pick and choose time periods to look at. So like, for example, when people bought Bitcoin at 69,000, it's going to 100,000, and a lot of people lost money, right? You're going to have a negative outlook on Bitcoin if you bought at that high. Now, if you bought at 3,000 in March of 2020, you got a total different outlook than someone else that bought, at 69,000. So it's like sometimes people like to pick and choose these time frames. Same thing with the whole gold Bitcoin debate. Like most Bitcoiners, they would say like, oh, well, gold is significantly down. Well, it's like, well, it just depends on when you bought. Like if you bought in early 2000 when gold was at, $200-$300 an ounce, you're up significantly. And so, it's all about these time periods, and people like to pick and choose what fits their narrative,
That, and that's absolutely true. And, 10 years ago, I was metal only. Like that was my only, and to call metal not an investment to me is a mistake, because I'm investing in my financial future. I'm investing in insurance. It is an investment. It might be a different investment, but I am making, it's just like when you go to the gym, right? Like you're making an investment in your health, your longevity.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
But I was pro silver, pro gold only, nothing else. That was it. And as time went on, I realized that, what you just said is true. It's all about when you purchase it. You people say you only lose when you sell. Well, you also lose when you buy, because if you buy too high and it never goes high again, you lose. So timing is paramount. And I think it's really key that people realize that we're all trying to get to the same place. But if we're too emotionally invested and too bullish on one asset, we get tunnel vision and we don't see the bigger picture.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why dollar cost averaging is very, I'm very pro dollar cost averaging. So, if I'm going to buy, a couple of silver ounces at, $28 an ounce, like I'm also going to be buying when it hits 23 an ounce. So, I'm not going to go all in and take a significant amount of money and buy at the highs, because of like, that's FOMO, that's fear of missing out. Right. And we see these narratives like all the time, like, which I think that we will have an economic crisis at some point. Right now we still got money printers to delay that process. But when you think of like recently when I was in Florida at Rick Rule's conference, and at that time it was like, oh, the BRICS is coming out. They're coming out with a gold currency. Like price of gold shoots up. People get FOMO, fear of missing out. They're buying gold at a higher price per ounce. Then come October, gold goes back down to like 1,700 or something like that. I don't have the chart in front of me. And so, sometimes these narratives like cause people to get emotional, and then they end up like putting a significant investment at a high. Obviously, gold is higher than it was back then. So even if you bought in August before the BRICS meeting, you're up on your investment, but that's not always the case,
Absolutely. Chef said something. By the way, I do see everyone in the chat. Maurice, Morgan's, Liberty, all you guys, welcome in. Thanks for coming. Chef said a couple things that I want to touch on. He talked about Ron's basement being a huge pumper. I like Ron as a person, but I think he's a pumper, and I don't watch him anymore because I can't handle pumpers. I think it leads people down the wrong path. And he also said digital dollars, the mark of the beast. That's why, and I agree with you, I want to be very clear, I am very anti-CBDC. Mm-hmm. I don't want a central bank controlling our digital currency. But see, Bitcoin is different. Other cryptos are different because they're taxed, but they're decentralized from banks, which I like about them. But I do not like CBDC. I think that is a mark of the beast. I think it's tax trap and trace 100%. So these are two different things, but I do agree with you. I had too much coffee, Daryl. I'm going to put myself on mute. I got to hit the head for like 30 seconds, bro. I'll be right back. So I'll be right back.
Yeah,
Okay.
definitely. CBDCs. For me, like I know that it's a part of that the market of beast will come to pass. Where you can't buy, sell, or trade, or buy or sell without the mark. And so CBDCs is definitely a dangerous thing where people can track every single thing you're spending. They can shut off your accounts with the press of a button. All those things. That's just horrific. However, I would say that um, in terms of timing with CBDCs and when you have this type of authoritarian, totalitarian type thing, I think we're a ways off from that. I mean, in terms of we won't get to that without a civil war. Like it's just like it's not. I just don't see that happening without like some type of civil war happening. Because there's too many people that care about their freedom. Now, when you think of like America, 100 years ago or so, the values of the nation were a lot stronger then. 200 years ago, the values of the nation were a lot stronger then. And now, as you see over time, with in our politics, all these things, right? The values of the nation are decreasing significantly amongst leadership and even amongst like newer generations, right? So at some point, like probably when I'm long gone, I expect that these CBDCs is gonna be in place, and at some point that market of beast thing is gonna happen. But I just don't see it happening without like some type of civil war or some type of revolution or anything like that beforehand.
I
Like
don't
this is what
know.
happened now.
I don't know, man. I think people are asleep. I think that's why they kick the can down the road, is because nobody. Wow, 43 people in here. Damn. I think that's why they're able to kick the can down the road, because people are asleep and the majority of people don't realize. And personally, I'm going to be 100 right now. I don't think people have the sack for any kind of civil. I mean, at least not at this point in time. I don't think there's people have the nutsack to have a civil, situation like a revolution, but I could be wrong. Wouldn't be the first time. But I think people are gonna welcome the CBDC because they're gonna entice people. They're gonna say, "Oh, it's so convenient. We'll give you extra tokens if you accept this." I think people will fall for that, just like they did for a lot of things in 2020. To be honest with you.
I mean, I think I'll push back in this way. And I appreciate you sharing that too. And we sharing ideas. We don't
Right.
have to agree on every single thing. And I got thick skin, so
Me too.
I think that what we saw during the pandemic, though, like the riots, the huge. I mean, like we saw a huge amount of people going to the streets. Over George Floyd. I mean, you had the Capitol. I mean, I think that if it's the right thing, that in terms of like the thing that can really push people over that edge, people will take up arms. I mean, we did see, like, I mean, you saw ammunition sales like skyrocket, shortages of ammunition. I think the amount of women that own firearms like increased significantly. I mean, so yeah, I just think it just depends on what it is. But obviously, you do have a lot of people that have like faith in the government and such. And so, I mean, yeah, I mean, I can see your point too,
Well, I mean, and you might be right. It's hard to know. What I do know is that until people are completely broke and starving,
Yeah.
starving is a huge indicator. When people
Yeah.
can't get food, that's when people turn violent. So we'll see. I don't have the faith in humanity that some people do. As far as it's like people will see things 10 years after they should have seen it, beforehand. To me, but that's just where I'm able to see things pretty quickly. I'm very perceptive generally. So I tend to have a negative outlook on other people because they lack that perception, I think. So, you could be right, given the right circumstance, for sure.
But no, you have a point though. Like, I mean, if it gets to like, if some orchestrated economic collapse that puts some currency collapse, like, I mean, they were able to avert it, during the global financial crisis. But, in some type of situation like that, like where people can't, people don't have money, people don't have food, all those things, right? They'll welcome a CBDC, so it's just, so
I,
yeah.
I agree. I once heard, and obviously people, like us on in the chat, and you and I, we don't fit in this niche, but people want to be led by something. People want to be, the masses want to be told what to believe, what to do, what direction to go. So I think you're right. I think if people are in hard times and the government says, hey, we have a solution, we can fix this, even though they created the problem, they'll be able to sell people that solution. And people overall as a whole will be like, absolutely, I embrace this, because people desire that leadership.
Yeah,
Which is
exactly.
sad.
Exactly. Yeah, that's true. So yeah, we kind of getting off on a little tangent, but we just talk crypto too.
Crypto and stocks, man. I think there's gains to be made, and my end game is land and physical assets, and maybe leaving some of it in some decentralized assets like Bitcoin for sure. But at the end of the day, my goal is to make profits and turn it into money, sound money.
Yeah, exactly. I just think about like we were talking offline, because there was all these like debates, Bitcoin versus gold. You had the Michael Saylor, Frank Justra debate on, I think it was Stansberry. You had Peter Schiff and Alex Mashinsky.
Danielle Camponi, I love that woman. Anyway, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, she's pretty. She's fire, man. So I think that we definitely had like all these debates, and you could see both sides being right in a lot of ways. Obviously Peter Schiff was like, hey, how is Celsius obtaining a yield? And then eventually, he's questioning Alex Mashinsky, and then now Alex Mashinsky, I don't know if he went to jail or whatnot, but I know Celsius went under. But then you had the Bitcoin gold debate, which Frank Justra, he's been in the gold mining space for a long time. Like he has some really solid points, but Michael Saylor straight killed that argument. He straight, his points were just very, very, very potent. And so for me, like I have to step back and not be emotional about it. Because you don't want to be, I don't want to be, married to any particular asset class. Except like, gold, hard money, which is gold or silver.
I'm on the same page 100% with what you just said.
Yeah, and I do view Bitcoin as something that has a lot of utility. And so like when you're talking about, we're not even talking about the altcoins right now. Let's just talk about Bitcoin really quick. But when you have like people in other nations that don't have access to banking systems or the S&P 500, they can't go invest in a retirement plan, because their country doesn't have it. Bitcoin solves a lot of those issues. Like, same thing when people come to the United States or other developed nations to work a job and they want to send money back to their family. One of the big criticisms was that, you had companies like Western Union that was charging them like over 10% to send money back to their family. And Bitcoin solved that. So there's definitely use cases for it. Obviously, my main issue with it is that it does rely on the dollar is still the reserve currency. So if you want to get dollars, you have to go through the banking rails, the on and off ramps of the banks, right? But if you're looking at something peer to peer, that can hold some value, definitely, yeah, it serves that purpose too.
So Chef said Bitcoin is fake unicorn fart dust. Now I want to touch on that. And here's the deal. I've invested in a lot of things, and I'm not saying I disagree with them. I've invested in a lot of things, and electronically, and a lot of them weren't real, so to speak, but the profits were real. And that's the point that I want to drive home to people. And I take those profits and I put them into real assets. And that's what I'm doing. And, I'm going to be honest. I see the value of gold because the world values it. what gold does for humanity cannot even compare to what silver does for humanity. So personally, I think silver should be worth more. But at the end of the day, that shit doesn't matter because the world values gold, so I must have it too. Just like the world values Bitcoin, so I must have it too. Whether or not I like it personally doesn't matter. What matters is the world likes it, and there's profits to be made. So I must be part of that market. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I mean. When I tell people take emotion out of it, that's what I mean. Go ahead.
Yeah, I want to respond to Han Dynasty. Han said that Bitcoin didn't solve anything, horrible argument in their opinion. So go read up on Nigeria, right? Nigeria tried to outlaw cryptocurrencies, all these things, right? And they try to issue a CBDC, which was like it went terrible. Like the people in Nigeria were still using cryptocurrencies. They could not control it. They could not get a handle on it. So then they started backtracking, like, okay, we need to adopt something to where this can be acceptable in some way. So I'm not gonna explain it. I just read about it just the other day. I encourage you to go read on Nigeria and their experiment trying to outlaw cryptocurrencies. So yeah, just want to share that. But there's massive gains to be made. There
is, and it don't matter if you like the asset class or not. If you make the gains and you turn it into gold and silver or land or real estate or whatever, at the end of the day, you won.
Yeah, I mean, because think about it, like how many, I was buying Bitcoin at 3,000. I didn't put enough money into it, but
story of my life, brother.
But it goes up 69,000. How many ounces of gold could I have bought with that?
Right. And I don't know what your end game is, but my end game is more physical assets at the end of the day. And let me be 100% transparent with everybody because I know, that's important to me. And that's why, I open a lot of metal on my channel because I am a stacker fundamentally. Yep. And I want people to never have to question that. That's why you'll see me open 47 ounces over the next couple of weeks when things arrive because anybody can tell you anything. But that transparency also, translates into what I'm doing in other aspects. And, at the end of the day, my interest is money. My interest is profit. And my interest is physical assets. And how am I going to get more of those? I'm going to make it in certain markets, whether I like the market or not, because I see the market patterns. And there's patterns and trends with metal, just like there is with crypto. And all you got to do is study charts and economics and understand. And more often than not, you're probably going to be right if you do your due diligence.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, because when you look at like some of these coins, obviously one I'm buying is called Gallum. I mean, it's at 3 cents right now. It's like a gaming company, but at the high it was like at 84 cents. So like for me, it's like, okay, well, why not buy something cheap and sell it to someone that's gonna have a fear of missing out. I mean, because like you remember like how much crypto was being pushed. I mean, you had the NBA, the Super Bowl, you had the government was talking about it. You had it was like in the media everywhere. There was so much FOMO, right? So why wouldn't I buy that cheap now and then sell it to someone at a significantly higher price later? And so in even this month, right? It's projected that BlackRock, the biggest financial institution in the world, is going to get their spot Bitcoin ETF approved by the SEC
by January 10th at the latest. Absolutely.
So like, why wouldn't you? I mean, obviously, even if you say you throw $100 in, right? Because most stackers got more than $100 of silver, right? You can speculate $100. You blow that on eating out. You blow that on like, whatever, right? You can speculate, like, hey, okay, well, I'm gonna throw this $100. Like, this isn't gonna be a life-changing amount of money. Like, I'm not investing a life-changing amount of money in crypto. You know what I mean?
Me either. I mean, 80% of my wealth is in physical metal. Just as a disclaimer.
Yeah.
Which is higher than most people, would recommend, but that's just how I do things.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But you liquid though. You liquid. That's the thing.
Right.
You got to be liquid. If you got certain things that can be sold, easily, then you can have 80% there. But
Well,
yeah, you're looking.
and man, because I've got, I mean, man, I've got a big stack. I've been stacking since 08, 09. So, and because of that, I realized, okay, because I have that safety net, and I'm not selling metal to buy crypto or stocks. That's not what I do. I just stack less, and I use that capital to do that. So, because I'm liquid and because I have the base stack that I have, I realized that I want a bigger stack and I want more assets, and I can allocate a percentage of my portfolio into higher risk assets. And if I lose it all, which I'm not going to let happen because I pay attention on a multiple times a day with what's going on in my portfolio. If I lose it all, I'm still fine. It's not going to kill me. It's not going to be the end all be all. But if I don't, and I make those high returns on those high risk assets, shit, man. I mean, that's a win, baby. So yeah, I'm gambling in the casino with a portion of my wealth because I want more wealth. And if I lose it, I'm still fine. So to me, it's a win-win. I might win more and I might lose a little bit, but either way,
It's about risk reward. It's risk
exactly.
The rewards outweigh losing however much you lose, like, because you're not using like a significant portion of your net worth, to invest in a risky asset. And so it's all about risk reward,
Yep. And see what Chef just said, what he does, he's a nickel stacking student. Nickel goes to these flea markets and garage sales and what have you, and auctions, and he gets sterling for cheap and sells it to refiners and turns it into metal. He's doing the same thing. He's doing the same thing I'm doing. I'm just not driving to people's house to pick the shit up. I'm being lazy about it, but we're all trying to get to the same place is the whole point. All of us watching this right now, all of us in this community are trying to build wealth. And I think if we all take something that each person has to offer, I think we can learn from each other. And some of it, you can say, okay, I see what you're saying. I don't want to use that. But I think if we're more open-minded and less emotional about certain assets, we can all benefit in the end.
Yeah. I mean, a friend of mine, my friend Mike, he I had met him back in 2019, and he was launching his own cryptos. It was called Beachcoin at the time, but I don't think it got off the ground. But anyways, he put, I think, $5,000 into crypto. I think it was Clover or Clever or something like that. But anyways, this crypto goes to $1 or over $1 or something like that, and he bought it at I don't know if it was 3 cents or less. But he became a millionaire overnight. Well, not overnight. It took a few months to play out. How many of us are becoming millionaires that quick?
That's what I'm saying, man. So if I take a small portion of my stack, and shoot my shot, if I lose, I don't lose that much. But if I win pretty big. That's my whole thing,
Yeah,
and what you said about the gaming coins, I'm going to get into those next because let's look at patterns. What does the youth like? The youth like social media, their iPhones, Snapchat, and gaming. So that's a pretty easy play to call. So I need to figure out which coin these kids are going to, it's going to appeal to these kids that are going to use on the platforms and invest in that because that is a market pattern. What do the kids like? They like games. They like social media. So, I mean, shit, I made a lot of money on Snapchat stock, about 5 years ago because I saw that trend, and then it tanked, but I sold before it tanked. I mean, you have to look at trends and make, take fake money and turn it into real money. But you can make a lot of fake profits if you pay attention, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's an important point. So I was live streaming to my Facebook, and I was talking about Gala Games, and that was in the title. And then one of the kids I've known, he's not a kid anymore, but he's he's like 28. But one of the people I used to mentor, he was like, yeah, man, I use Gala Games. I use them. He was like, man, we should play sometime. And this is okay, this is actually being implemented. This isn't just some coin that everybody just goes invest in and just puts money to blindly. This is an actual business that's providing utility and providing a service for people that use it. And and another thing is obviously people, I share the same view with a lot of people. I just think that with a lot of people in the stacking community, I just think that the time frames are probably a lot different. But when the internet came out, man, people were like, oh, it's not going to succeed. You know, these tech stocks, you know, all this stuff, right? I mean, we even had a .com bubble, right? You know, and I mean, people that invested a lot of money in something that that a lot of people were saying weren't going to do anything, or well, not a lot of money, but people that invested in something that people said weren't going to do anything, you know, is now something we're using today to live stream, you know, and you know what I mean? Like, so it's like.
Exactly. And when the whole thing happened in 2020, I missed the boat on Zoom stock, and I'm still kicking myself in the sack for it. I mean, you know, who would have thought Zoom was going to do anything? Look what it did. I mean, you know, so what you just said. I mean, man, there are patterns, and you're not going to catch them all, but you've got to keep your head on a swivel and keep your eyes open, because there are money to be made in you know, there's profits to be made in fake markets, and you can turn those real profits into real money. I mean, it really is that simple. It doesn't matter what you like or what you don't like. The fact remains the same, that profits are there for all of us if we pay attention to potentially take advantage of. Don't matter if you like the asset, you can still profit from it.
Yeah.
I've owned a lot of, you know, stocks that I don't care for, but you know, and I've lost too, but I bought into a lot of things I don't like because, you know, I like the profits, and that's where emotion needs to be disconnected from gains. I mean, I'm going to tell you guys a story, and this is true. I was telling you this in your live stream in the chat. I bought Plug Power at like $1.50 a share. It was a penny stock. I bought 6 or 7 or 800 shares. Okay. And this was the first stock I ever bought, because I'm good at this shit. I have a knack for it somehow. And I bought it, but here's where I'm not good at it. It went up to like $2 or something, and then it started dipping below the 150. And not that I couldn't afford to lose it, but I was like, I don't want to lose money. So I sold it because I got emotional. You know what happened within 6 months? Not even 6 months. Went up to almost $200 a share. I would have made $600,000 or $800,000 if I would have held. But because I got emotional about an asset class and made the wrong decision, I lost. So it taught me a lot. Unfortunately, that was an expensive mistake. I didn't spend $600,000 or $800,000, but I lost it, you know, in potential profits. So do I believe in green energy? Hell no. Is there money made from it? Hell yes, because I could have made $600,000 or $800,000. So I don't got to like something to make money from it.
The government they print, let's see what they spent. I think it was trillion. I think it was $4 trillion or something dollars to focus on green energy, right? And then they only reduced the usage of oil by like 1%. So I mean, you were playing like, hey, they're going to print the money. This is a political narrative that that many people were behind or whatnot, and you were able to profit from it. I was in the plug at about $2, and I sold it when it went up to close to 20. And this is like one of the things, like, you know, even you all, just for those in the audience, like when we say like we can make you know, Bitcoin at 3,000 goes up to 69,000, like hardly anyone ever like sells or times the top and bottom in these assets. Like that's just like unheard of, like, or you get lucky, like if you do. So even for a constitutional, you know, and myself owning plug at $2, like we didn't know it was going to go up over $100, right? And so
Not
like
at all.
when it goes to, for me, it went to 20, like, oh yeah, I'm taking the profit.
You did better than me.
So, but you know, you can also, like, the thing is, like, when you get your initial investment back, then you're playing with house money,
Right.
you know? So like you take, you know, it goes up, you take your initial investment out, you're like, okay, well, I'll take some more profits off the table when it goes up higher. Okay, it goes higher, I'm gonna take some more profits off the table. So that's like how I'm playing it. It's like once I get that initial investment back, then I'm taking it off the table.
Yeah, I want to touch on what Neil and OTG said about money being the root of all evil and love of money being the root of all evil. You know, one thing Economic Ninja says, he says a lot of things I agree with and a lot of things I don't agree with, but one of the things he says I agree with is money doesn't change you. It makes you more of what you already are. So loving money doesn't mean you're evil. What you do with that money makes you evil. And let's take a look at platinum, Neil. You're very bullish on platinum, and to a degree, I agree with that. But platinum, you know, we're talking about green energy. Platinum can be used for hydrogen, you know, in hydrogen fuel cells and to provide energy. So does that mean you're evil because you like platinum? Because at the end of the day, you want to make gains, monetary gains in platinum. So we can chop it up all we want, but all of us have the same goal, which is to make more money.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, my view on that is,
and if you buy aluminum or if you buy silver and someone does something evil with it, but you still profit, even though you didn't do that evil thing, does that mean you're the bad guy? No, it does not.
yeah, I mean, the cash we carry, right? Who knows
Yep.
whose bedroom it was in for them doing what? You know what I mean? like,
Yeah, I mean, the change you get at the store, maybe somebody was, robbed for that money, but that's not on you. That's not on you because, you're just going about your day doing your business. We cannot control what other people do.
Exactly. I think that whenever you, if you love money, to a certain extent, like depending on how much love you have for it, like, are you willing to do immoral things for that? Are you willing to get on the poor? Are you willing to, rob somebody or kill somebody for it, or scam, or like kill your husband and to get his life insurance? Like some of these shows, you know what I mean? Like what extent are you willing to go to for the dollar? And so that's where I think that that plays.
Well, see, that's what I'm saying, Neil. So you tell people about platinum so they can profit, but what happens if a green energy company does something evil with platinum and people profit from your advice? Does that make you evil? No. You can't control what other people do. That's my point. So
we don't want to talk about the mines and the horrible working conditions in some of the mines.
Right.
So that, right? Like, if you really want to get into like a humanitarian type thing, like,
You can't look at what you invest in as far as being moral or amoral for the most part. Now, if you're investing in something that directly hurts people for profit, that's a problem. But you can't control what people do with the asset class you're invested in, whether it's silver, gold, platinum, stocks, crypto. That's not on you. That's the whole thing. You can't control what other people do in an asset class.
I mean, like, think about like what we stack, right? I mean, if you really want to go into like certain mines, like in which I'm not like an expert in the mining sector, but I do have quite a bit of knowledge, based on like interviewing CEOs of exploration and mining companies and such, streaming companies and stuff. And not every mine is bad, right? But you do get these situations where there's corruption. The oil we use in our cars, like you get situations where that's corruption. The dollars that we use in everyday circulation, like think of that big Ponzi scheme. You know what I'm saying? Like everything we use, like can be built off the sweat. I mean, you don't even want to get it. I don't know if y'all seen this. I haven't seen it yet, but Sound of Freedom. But when you talk about like, child workers and all this stuff for like, I mean, like, I could put an argument almost against anything, man. Like,
absolutely. I mean, am I going to go to Walmart for the same item and spend less than I am at Fred Meyer or whatever? Absolutely. Does that mean, I'm a horrible person because Walmart's business practices may or may not be what they need to be? No, I don't think it does. And let's talk about mining for a minute. This is a huge mistake stackers make. Now, listen, there are some mining stocks that channels push that are absolutely terrible. I've had them, and I'm here to tell you that. However, all these stackers are like, oh, I'm pro-metal, but anti-mining stock. That's asininity because why wouldn't you want to support the companies that struggle because mining is a hard business? Why wouldn't you want to support the companies that dig the shit out of the ground to put in your damn stack? You know what I'm saying? And profit from it, like Fortuna Silver Mines, FSM. I'm up 35%, and I've had that for years. That's a good mining stock. And I support the company that pulls the stuff out of the ground to put in my stack. To me, that seems like good business. But stackers miss the boat. Like, oh, I'd never do mining stocks. I'd never invest in that. Why? You invest in their product. Why wouldn't you invest in their company that makes that product for you, that gets that product? I think that's, asinine.
Yeah, you're owning a part of the company, I mean, but ultimately, I mean, I think that the issue with stocks and securities, I don't know if you all read the book called The Great Taking, but I mean, when you look at all these paper assets, right, they're not really insured, and so like, if someone has that particular mindset where they're like, hey, this is why I don't own paper assets because of, that it could be taken at any point, I mean, we've seen that that happen when shareholders get diluted, or when companies go bankrupt, things of that nature. So I mean, it's definitely a point there, but ultimately, like, they are the ones that are like going in the ground and getting a resource that we use.
Well, I guess to elaborate on what I'm saying, if somebody doesn't feel comfortable taking that risk, that I understand. But there's this whole, there's this movement that some people have against, being totally anti-mining stock investing. They'll invest in other assets in the stock market, other stocks, but they won't invest in mining stocks because they hate the idea. And it doesn't make sense, because without funding, who's going to dig that stuff out of the ground and put in your safe?
Yep,
That's my point. So that's that emotional disconnect that people have because they're not using their heads. They're not thinking all the way through. Thank you, LLC. I appreciate that $10 super chat, brother. Thank you very much.
That's like, I mean, but that's like a lot of people. Like right now, people want, like, I compare that argument to people that are anti-oil, but they still drive a gas guzzler vehicle.
Absolutely, or have a plane, or fly to their vacation spot on a jetliner, right?
Yeah.
It's like the politicians that are pushing green energy, and then they get in their jet and fly everywhere. They're like, oh, we can't have oil, but let me get in my jet right now. I mean, come on, where do we draw the line?
Exactly, man. I mean, it's a world full of hypocrisies, and we're all subject to it. Like, I'm not exempt from it, but there's definitely a counter argument to everything. So it's just all about weighing out the risks, balancing everything out, being able to like listen to the other side of the coin. Like, and that's what we were talking about: Bitcoin, crypto versus gold, or crypto or gold. Right? It's like being able to listen to the other side of the coin, because every argument has some type of point or some type of logic or truth behind it. And so because otherwise we get into these echo chambers and we miss out on these opportunities.
I absolutely agree, man. Oh, soup du jour and cookies and milk will be making a comeback. Good to hear, Chef. Daryl, man, you are such a smart dude. I think you and I are going to get along well. I hope we
gotta do this again.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. Anytime. I mean, if you're willing to have me on your channel, it would be an honor.
Yeah, I would love to. We'll do that.
Okay.
Hey, be sure to go subscribe if you enjoyed my our conversation today. Be sure to go check out my channel. If you just want to get challenged, and hear opposite perspective, go subscribe. Even if you want to,
your link is in the description below, by the way, to this video.
Even if you want to troll,
as is the disclaimer that you and I are not financial advisors.
Yes, exactly. We're not financial advisors, and so if you want to troll me, be sure that you can go subscribe. You know what I'm saying? Just watch my videos so I get monetization revenue, and be sure to send a super chat every now and then, and I may argue with you in the comments, right?
Absolutely, and his link is in the description below this video. Daryl's a smart dude. I think he's got great personality. I really like his content, and I'll tell you what, if y'all are up late, he will just randomly pop out with like a stream in the middle of the night, middle of the morning, depending on where you are, and they're actually really good. So check out Daryl. It's in the description below. I'm gonna go shooting, y'all. You have anything you want to close out with, Daryl?
Man, I hope y'all having a good new year. I hope that you accomplish the goals that you have set before you. And ultimately, we in this together. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to say it to be cliche, but like really, we need a community of people that can even give counter arguments and challenge narratives and things like that. Like that's healthy. Those are American values, right?
That's how we learn, baby.
So appreciate you all for listening today, even if you don't agree with everything I said. So
100%, man. Appreciate you being here. I'm just going to say Happy New Year, everybody. Thanks for being here, and keep stacking, of course.
All right. We'll do. All right. Y'all take care.